Morning, everyone. I'm Laura. I lead marketing on the Solana mobile team. It is 10:03, so here on the west coast of the United States. So we'll go ahead and get started. Today I have two members of the Solana mobile team with me. I have Emmett Hoyer and Stephen Laver with me. So the two of you, if you would like to say hi, that'd be great.
GM, everyone. Glad to be here.
Everyone, yeah, good morning. Well, good midday, good evening, wherever you are. It's always good morning.
It's good morning somewhere, right? Yeah, welcome. Happy Friday. It's the officially Saga season, and we're kicking off this exciting and slightly nerve-wracking period for our team. So I assume that most people here saw the announcement that we put out on Twitter yesterday. Our official global launch event is slated for April 13th. The event will be live streamed, so hopefully that most people here will have an opportunity to tune in and watch live along with us. In the next couple weeks, we'll be hosting weekly Twitter Spaces. So today we have the most of the members of the Solana mobile team here. So we'll aim to talk high level about the Saga program and answer some of your questions. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll aim to bring on some partners, both hardware and software, to also talk, bring their perspective and also answer questions. At a high level agenda, so we'll spend 15 minutes going through some of the highlights of Saga, and you'll hear from Emmett and Steven. Then we'll leave 30 minutes for Q&A. So I have some prepared questions, and then we'll open up the quorum for people to ask questions. So, one call out is that we will be closing the pre-order on the day that we launch. So if you do want to get in line and get early access to Saga, make sure that you get your pre-orders in and mint your Saga pass. So with that, I realized I didn't introduce Emmett and Steven. So Emmett leads business and operations for Solana Mobile, and Steven is the head of engineering for all of Solana Mobile. So with that, I'll hand over to Emmett to talk about how we got here for Saga, what do we have in the mix for the next couple of weeks, and what you can expect.
Great. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, super excited. Obviously, as Laura mentioned, it's getting very real. So we're super excited for what's to come. But why don't I give just a little bit of a look back, kind of explain how we got here, and then I can talk about what the next couple of weeks and months will look like for Solana Mobile. So obviously, the very obvious starting point is why Saga. Because you've joined this, I assume you share the excitement, and it doesn't need to be reiterated. But there's frankly just a big problem when it comes to crypto adoption on mobile right now. We know that crypto will continue to grow, that Web3 is going to enable this wave of experiences that couldn't have existed before. True ownership of assets existed, and this decentralized network or series of networks has been built out. And so while we're excited to see that grow, and we acknowledge that there are some issues that have prevented mobile growth, we didn't want to just sit back and wait for somebody else to figure them out. So we're here to solve those problems. If as a user you've ever worried about the security of your private keys on a phone, that maybe you trust the wrong person, those get leaked, and all of a sudden your funds are gone, we're trying to solve that problem. If you're a user who is a little bit tired of logging into a mobile wallet and then going to the browser tab and then going to whatever DeFi app or NFT marketplace in their in-app browser, if you're sick of that, we're here to solve that problem. And finally, if you're a developer and you've ever had to deal with the review processes at the existing app stores, or even if you thought you could get through the review process, you've just realized that it wasn't tenable to build a sustainable business where you had to fork over 15 to 30% of your revenue. We're here to solve that problem too. Our mission is to solve those problems and any other problems that might exist that prevents the faster adoption of Web3 on mobile. So we're focused on building infrastructure, we're focused on building tools, ultimately so that developers in this ecosystem can build some of the breakout apps that bring the next wave of users into crypto. And we've committed to that mission, and in addition to that, we've the whole while really focused on open sourcing, having community ownership of what we built. Everything from the Solana mobile stack, which is open source, to us sharing the files required to build your own accessories at home or through another vendor. We're very much committed to that value of being open sourced and serving the community. Additionally, we are obviously focused on Solana. It's the chain we know. It's where we call home right now. So we're very much focused on building things that enable like the greater good for Solana, but also an openness towards additional ecosystems. And finally, just a connection to the community, right? Like we have loved being in person at events, whether it's hacker houses, whether it's Breakpoint, getting to see people who will either be building for Solana Mobile, people who are going to own a Saga or whatever Solana Mobile devices come in the future. Um, Seeing you all in person, handing phones over, getting people to experience them, sitting with developers as they're coding, that connection to the ecosystem has like been, frankly, one of the largest drivers for our team and something we'll continue to value moving forward. That's a little bit about the why and sort of what problems we're set out to solve and what are the things that we value. But where does that put us from a timeline perspective? So Laura obviously mentioned that as of yesterday, we've announced our launch, which will be on April 13th. But that was the product of many, many, many hard months of work. So originally, when this whole program, this whole business started, back at Breakpoint in 2021, things were really taking off for the ecosystem, and we saw the growth, but we just couldn't see a pathway to mobile. And so that's when really efforts started in earnest. And so totally somebody with a very deep mobile background set out to see what type of solutions we could build, how we could really break down some of those barriers. And so he built two very key connections or fostered two very key connections. One was with Stephen Laver, who we'll talk more in a second, to really come in and set the technical direction from within Solana Labs. How can we build a mobile stack? What software can we enable to spur that growth, spur that mobile growth? And also built a relationship with the team at Awesome. Awesome is an extremely close partner. We're very, very lucky to work with them. They have a wealth of technical experience. And so Anatoly and Jason hit it off pretty quickly, saw an alignment in values and saw an alignment in the types of problems we were both trying to solve. And so as Toly connected with Jason and Steven, and this thing really started to build right at the start of 2022, the pieces came together and we saw a line that got us here today. So the team started being built right at the start of 2022. We had an announcement in June of last year. If you were there or you saw it, it was a very, very exciting moment to acknowledge that we were going to solve these problems. But once we said it out loud, we knew we had to do it. And so that's led to the last couple of months where we've really focused on putting our heads down, building our engineering team, Awesome continuing to deliver hardware. And we've had opportunities, like I said, to connect with people in person. Breakpoint was an awesome opportunity to put hardware in front of folks, to put software in front of folks. In this past winter, we launched our DVT unit program, our developer program, where certain developers had early access to pre-production hardware. They could start building and iterating and testing and seeing what the eventual experience would look like. And that gets us here, which is the event coming up next month. We're excited that Saga can finally launch, that we can get phones into everybody's hands. And there will be, a fun couple of months coming on the other side of that. It's too soon to know exactly what the following months after the launch will look like, but most important is we can't wait to see the community feedback. We want to understand what people are excited about, what they love, what they think could be better. And so our focus is get to April 14th, get phones out there, and then start the listening process and really learn and iterate as quickly as we can. So that's kind of a look forward. There's plenty to say about what comes after those first few months of Saga. But I think taking a moment and looking backwards, kind of seeing all the hard work that's gotten us here, knowing that we still have a couple of weeks to get to that, as Stephen likes to call it, not the finish line, but the starting line, is really important. But with that, Stephen, why don't I hand it over to you to talk a little bit more about some of the details of what's to come, both from Saga and from SMS.
Thanks, Emmett. So I just want to acknowledge one thing first is I have been terrified of accidentally saying this April 13th date for weeks and weeks now. And so I'm glad that it's finally public so I can't screw it up and accidentally say the thing out loud. So April 13th isn't that far away. It is exciting. Myself, the whole team have been working for a little over a year now on engineering of Saga. And so the opportunity to put it in people's hands and show the full vision is something I've always been excited about, but finally is starting to feel real for me. We had an early opportunity with our DBT units to put those out in the community's hands. I was trepidatious about that. It's earlier than products are normally put in people's hands, and it shows on those early units. They were intended for developers. We put them out. We were able to put the most important pieces of technology on there to start unblocking building Web3 for mobile, but they certainly weren't complete units. And so I am excited that what we're finally going to be able to start showing the world in just a couple of weeks are the complete units. And so I've been thinking a lot leading up to that date about what is Saga, who is it for, how will it change the Web3 landscape? And I've really, I was fortunate enough to be able to attend the Hacker House Melbourne a couple of weeks ago, and I was in a room full of developers, talking to developers, and then there were so many things I wanted to say, but I realized that the other things I wanted to say were the stories about the users. And that's the message that we're going to be able to, or the story rather, we're going to be able to start telling quite soon.
Mhm.
But maybe just I can share my thoughts on the story of Saga for developers versus the story of Saga for users. And because I haven't really had a chance up till now to talk about it for users, I'd love to start there. When I look at what we're going to be able to bring with Saga, there's a few things that, like Seed Vault. I've talked about that in technical terms plenty of times, but at the end of the day, this is something that users will experience right from setting up their device. As they walk through the out-of-box experience, the last thing that they're going to be prompted to do is to trust this device with their seeds, with their keys. And so there's some guidance there. We walk the users through what will feel like a pretty typical seed setup. But at the end of that, a user has something on this physical artifact, on this device, that is giving them security and safety in their usage of crypto. And so the people are used to having their wallets on the go. When we first started this program, I would say it was still a little bit new and fresh. The mobile wallets were still coming out. It's become a little bit more normal now, but there's still this concern about carrying your crypto assets with you on the go. And so being able to bring this, what I think of as a amazing device that has this super secure seed vault built into it for that custody, I think that's going to be a game changer for users in terms of their willingness, their comfort, and their ability to use their Web3 assets wherever they are, no longer tethered to a desktop or a laptop to check their NFTs, participate in a mint, trade, anything you want to do with your Web3, social, gaming, all of these things will be available on the go. And the counterpart to that is, how do you get all these activities on the go? And that's, I think, what is going to be the second special thing about Saga for users, which is the dApp Store. The dApp Store is both the least interesting thing. It's an application store. There's nothing new there, but it's also the most interesting thing. It's the channel by which everything that we want to bring to users for Web3, we being the Solana ecosystem, not just us here within Solana Mobile. Everything that we want to bring users is, to a certain extent, at least impeded, if not fully blocked, by the policies of the existing application stores, whether those be outright bans or just economic requirements that make it infeasible to deploy a use case onto an Android device. And so the dApp Store is our channel. I've been processing submissions into the dApp Store for weeks now, getting to see a preview of some of the exciting things that will be in there. I'm excited for users to be able to discover and install and experience why mobile matters. We all know why mobile matters for everything else that we do. I don't know anyone who sits down at their desktop as their first place to go experience, for example, social media. Everyone starts with their phones, and the fact that that isn't yet universally true for Web3, that's, I think, the real value that Saga is going to bring to our users. Just briefly touching on the developer side of the story, I know I've talked about this at length in the past, but the Solana, inside the Solana mobile stack, we have mobile wallet adapter, we have Seed Vault, and we have the dApp store. Altogether, they are enabling technologies. The story there is take these technologies and build on them. They're a platform. They're not an end solution all by themselves. I have just enough creativity to envision some of the things that could be built with this phone, but I'm constantly surprised and amazed when I see what people actually are building for this phone. I've been looking through some of the submissions to the mobile track of Grizzlython, which just wrapped up recently, and I'm excited. People are thinking about mobile. They're thinking about how to apply a Web3 in a way that is mobile first, right? It's easy to take an existing dApp that's been built for, say a DeFi dApp that's been built for a desktop web experience and just port that directly over to mobile. But when you start seeing projects think about what they can do that's unique to mobile in terms of notifications, the always-on connectivity, in terms of taking advantage of the sensors on the device, that's where I think we're going to see the real innovation happen with Solana and Web3 is on these mobile devices, whether it be gaming, which I'm extremely excited about. I don't have as much time as I used to play games, but I think if I can find a way to justify it and tell my partner that no, it's part of my job, I promise, then I will certainly get a chance to play some more of these Web3 games, whether it's social, whether it's the traditional strongholds of DeFi, that the amazing art of NFTs. All of these things are going to be better on mobile, and in particular, better on Saga. One thing worth noting is I've been carrying Saga now since before it had a single crypto feature on it, when it was just a prototyped phone, and I've been carrying it as my only phone for about 4 months now. Certainly, at the beginning of that, there was a few rough corners here and there, but it's become something that I don't even think about anymore. It's such an amazing device. The software has come to a point where it's not something that feels like a phone that I have just for the Web3 capabilities. It's an amazing phone, first and foremost. Feels great in the hand. It's got beautiful display, snappy. It's running latest Android, and it makes all the Web3 things that I want to do on it easy. I can get them from the dApp store. I can connect them to the Seed Vault through mobile wallet adapter. Everything that used to be hard or have large barriers thrown up to do them on mobile devices, all those barriers are starting to fall. So I'm excited that what I've been experiencing for months now, everyone is going to get a chance to experience in just a few short weeks. So yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say about the Saga and the Web3 landscape. But Laura, I think we had some questions. Maybe we can jump over to some of those now.
Yeah, we did have a lot since our announcement yesterday. So it was really heartwarming to see how receptive people were to the announcement, because I think it was month and month of people asking us when, and now I can finally we can finally give everybody a firm date. That is when. So obviously, April 13th is the date that we're gonna stand on top of the hill and tell everybody that we've built the phone. It's here. We will see Tolly talk, so hopefully everybody will come and join us live. But then the natural question is, so which day people can get the handsets in their hand? So it does take a couple of days, right? And we do ship to 33 countries in the world. So Emma, you've been to the warehouses, you know how hard they work, but when devices are gonna arrive in people's mailboxes and they can unbox and touch the devices?
Yes. The short answer is very, very shortly after 4/13. So obviously, Laura, as you mentioned, getting everything into place to get phones in, from China through Hong Kong, get them into a distribution facility, get that connected to our shipping carrier accounts, connected to our storefront takes a lot of work. We've spent a lot of time on that in the last few months. But the last thing we would want is to start taking orders and have them disappear. So we're going to be very careful, but I can say confidently that once orders open up on the 13th, that first batch of phones will be shipping very, very shortly thereafter.
Yep. And I just want to add that I don't think most of the people who just buy a phone don't really understand how much goes into getting the phones from China to all the warehouses and to everybody's hand. So one thing we do want to mention is the multiple regions in the world will have slightly arrival time. So Emma, do you want to touch on that as well?
Yeah, sure. So I think the important thing to call out here is, and this is a little bit inside baseball, but uh, for devices that ship with Android into the EU, Google, due to some recent regulation and specifically in the EU, Google's required to make certain things available in any Android devices that ship to the EU. So because of that, we technically have two SKUs of Saga. They look the same, the hardware is the same, the software is basically identical. There's just a couple small changes that regulation has required. And so that second SKU, the ones that are headed to European countries, will ship just shortly after the first device is shipped to all other countries. So the first SKU will be the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. And then that second SKU, which is to the EU and the UK, that will be an extremely fast follow. So we'll still open up orders, but it will be, a couple days behind the first batch.
Yep. So the TLDR is around the world. It will ship very soon after launch day, just slightly EU being slightly behind. And then the next question. So we got a couple questions, not just in the past 24 hours. It's been a couple weeks. We've been getting questions about hardware accessories. So I know we released all the CAD files, so maybe let's talk about just how unusual for a company to release CAD files, and then we can maybe discuss a little bit what are all the accessories that we have planned.
Yeah, sure. So before we talk about like what we'll call the open sourcing of accessory files, we will be selling a handful of accessories directly. So first and foremost, we are working with Awesome, not only on the phone, but all of the accessories. So Awesome and Solana Mobile are working together on every single thing you'll be able to buy from us. They have a great eye for quality, so it was a no-brainer to keep working with them on accessories themselves. In terms of what we'll offer, so Saga itself will ship with Awesome's proprietary USB-C cable. So for those that haven't seen, the USB cable available from Awesome actually lets you flip a physical toggle and remove some of the data pins. So if you've ever wanted to plug your phone in to the USB port at a hotel, but have been told, hey, maybe be careful because that has full data access once you plug it in. The phone will ship with that cable, but we'll also make some additional cables available for purchase in the store in case you want a second one for when you're traveling or you want additional USB cables for other devices you own. We will, of course, have a case. So we'll have one very well manufactured case available for Saga, and we'll have screen protectors as well. So those will be the core accessories that we offer that have been made by Awesome. But to follow up on the open sourcing of accessories files, we've shared those out. Anybody in the community can take those files and either work to 3D print cases at home if they'd like. They can work with other manufacturers to build cases or screen protectors or anything that they want. We want this to be open, right? We want the ecosystem to be able to build what it wants. We've intentionally kept a pretty narrow set of accessories that are going to be extremely high quality that we trust available for purchase from us, but we don't want that to limit the creativity and the options and choice available for the ecosystem.
Yep, for sure. And just to drill home to the point on the cable, it's like the pins that transfer the data, they're physically disconnected from the end of the cable. So the only thing that's passing through are electrons. So literally the only thing it does is just to charge. No data connection whatsoever. And then, so I want to do a PSA. So I see one person requested to speak. So we'll open up the floor for questions. So if you do have questions, make sure you start lining up, and then I'll bring people onto the stage in the order that they raise their hands. So before I start bringing people up, so let's talk a little bit, get a few high-level things on the software side out of the way. So Stephen, we've got a couple questions. They're all kind of in the realm of what are the operating system, and they do know it's going to come with operating Android 13, but in kind of what version of Android 13 is it going to run? Are there anything that's coming pre-installed or pre-built into Saga?
Sure. So we will be shipping with Android 13 patched up with all the latest security patches, but we're aiming to ship with an extremely clean version of it. So we are shipping with the standard Google Mobile Suite applications. So the phone will have Chrome, it will have Gmail, it will have the Google Play Store. And beyond that, we've limited it to just the Solana mobile App Store that we're including as a built-in application on the device. We wanted users to have that super clean Android experience, kind of like what a Pixel offers to users. And so it'll do everything you would expect a modern Android device to do, but we're not going to be putting bloatware on these devices. During the device setup, since the role of a wallet to interact with the seed vault is so important to a crypto device, at the end of setup, users will be given the option to install one or more wallets on their device. And those wallets are ones that will be compatible with the seed vault. So the seed that you set up during the onboarding flow of your device, you'll be able to install wallets that work with that seed right out of the box as soon as the setup finishes. Beyond that, anything that you want to add to this device is you're free to get from the Solana App Store. You're free to install it from the Google Play Store. There's no limitations on this device in terms of what you install. The bootloader is unlockable. You can sideload applications on this device. It's a full Android device in every sense of the word. It's fully certified and has all of the standard Google Play features on it and the Google suite of applications themselves. I did get a few questions on, why did we choose a full Android that includes the Google Mobile Suite on there? Why didn't we choose something like Graphene OS? And what it fundamentally came down to is this should be a user's primary phone. This should be something that people can carry and use as the best of an Android device. And the reality is that the majority of users out there still do want those Google mobile applications installed on their device. We're using this device. It's our stake in the ground. It's our example of here's how great we think crypto can be on a mobile device. Hopefully not the last SMS device you'll see out there. All the technologies that we're building in SMS, we've released the specifications and the SDKs for those. And so I hope that in a couple of years' time, we're having a very different conversation. I don't even have to talk about why people should include SMS into a phone anymore, because it's just taken for granted that features like this are present in every phone. But we did want to make this a device not to carry as a second device just for accessing Web3 on the go, but as their primary phone. And so to make sure that it's as useful as possible to as many users as possible, we went with an extremely clean version of Android that just has the standard Google applications built into it.
Thanks, Stephen. And then one more question that's also on what's going to come on the phone is about the App Store. So could you talk a little bit more about what's going to come inside the App Store?
Sure. So I have been actively processing submissions to the App Store. We've had a fair number come in so far. They're continuing to come in. I'll take a moment now just to plug that I know we have a lot of devs on this call. Build for mobile. Mobile is an amazing platform. You can access users everywhere, not just when they sit down at their desktops. So please do build. Dapp Store is open for submissions and remains open for submissions. The launch is getting pretty close, so I can't promise at this point that every app that gets submitted will be there on day one. But day one is just that, day one. There's a long road ahead for the Saga devices, and there's an opportunity here for you to distribute your applications in our Dapp Store that doesn't have all the restrictions that other application stores do as far as crypto and payments. And so Dapp Store is open. Please do submit. So we do have a couple really good wallets that are in the Dapp Store. So wallets that explicitly work with the seed vault, for example. So the features of the Saga that are unique to Saga, you'll find applications in the Dapp Store for that as well.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, Stephen. So I did bring someone on as a speaker, but I think they dropped. So if anyone on the space right now want to ask a question, make sure you raise your hand. So if not, I do have a couple more questions that people kind of brought to us in the past couple of days. So probably go from the broader to the more narrow and specific ones. The first one was what do we expect to see people switch to Saga as their primary phone, or rather we think that people are going to use it more as a secondary device for their for interacting with Web3 on the go?
Everyone's heard me talk about how I've been using it for a few months now, but Emmett, I know you've been carrying it as well for quite a while as your primary phone. Do you want to share some of your experiences?
Yeah, I mean, similarly to what you said, Stephen, like I've been using this since before the crypto features were added. At the end of the day, it's a great phone. I mean, look, will there be people who choose to carry a second device? Sure. There are people who today carry two devices, one for work, one for personal. So, I don't want this to sound as though I'm saying like definitely don't do that. What I will say is it's a great phone. It's extremely usable, right? We haven't had to cut out the ability to get even just the basic apps that you need to use on a day-to-day basis. It's extremely snappy. The OS is super lightweight. It does everything I need it to. And I've been an Android user for a long time, but I also have dabbled in iOS. I think personally for me, this ranks up there with every great Android phone I've ever used. I think it absolutely offers better hardware than Pixel. I think the software is much cleaner than the Samsung experiences as of late. So I personally will continue to only carry one phone. And I think a lot of people who may be picturing themselves using two phones, one for all of their blockchain stuff and one for everything else, once they get this in their hand and they start using it day-to-day basis, I can envision a lot of Sims switching over and just living in Saga full time. But ultimately, that's up to our users to decide. But I think people will be surprised how quickly they'll move their whole lives over.
Yep. Yeah, even the phone was not. We all carry the DVTs, and a lot of us use the phone as a primary device. And you heard from Emmett and Steven; they both have been using it for a long time. And then the next two questions are both on hardware, and they're fairly specific. So just as a PSA, so we will be bringing up our hardware partner, Awesome, someone from Awesome, to talk about everything hardware in one of the spaces in the next couple of weeks. So if you are interested in learning a lot more about the hardware, make sure you tune into that one. But for today, one of the questions is, does Saga come with OIS, optical image stabilization?
Yes.
Steven?
Yep. If you check our solanamobile.com site, there's a link there where you can see the specifications for Saga, and it is the camera, the rear-facing camera on the device does have OIS capabilities. Yes. I did see one other question on Twitter as well asking about the camera sensors. It's an IMX sensor that we're using on Saga.
Yep. And then the second half of the question is, who's producing the display panel? I think that might be too specific for our team, so I'm happy to bring on a couple members from our hardware partner, Awesome, in one of the following Twitter spaces, and then we can ask away. any questions that has to do with hardware. So looks like the people who wanted to ask questions didn't join back in, but there are a couple more that I can help address that came up a couple times. One is what will the Saga Pass cards do? So for most of the people here, I'm assuming that people have the Saga Pass and they've been getting the Saga Pass cards dropped to them every week. For those who don't know, we have enlisted a group of artists from the Solana ecosystem, and they've all designed cards as in a poker deck for with their own style. So we do have a full deck that's designed out, and we've been trickling those cards out every week for a week, one from each type. So we are this week we're in week 7, and we will have another drop this week. So what we're gonna do with the cards, so we will be releasing the rules in the next couple of weeks. So what I can say today is we have something fun planned for you, and stay tuned. I just don't want to spoil the surprise just quite yet. And then the next question is, will there be opportunity to attend the launch event in person? Okay, so this we got a couple times on Discord and Twitter. We understand, appreciate that people want to be part of the event and come and watch us live. However, it is going to be a very limited, small in-person event in San Francisco. And because it's small, that's why we decided to live stream the event online. And the live stream will be available on both YouTube and Twitter. So I invite you to all join in that way and be part of the festive and watch along with us. However, that said, we are planning on a series of events through summer across April, May, and June in both Europe and United States. So those events are going to be for the community. We're putting the finished touches and on the planning, so we'll come out with more information soon. So also keep your eyes peeled on those events and more to come. So that's an answer to that question. Anything else, Stephen and Emma, you can think of? Question-wise or something that we should address?
Nothing comes top of mind for me right now. I know there are a handful of these slated for the next few weeks as we lead up to launch, where we'll dig into specific things around the Saga playing cards you mentioned and hardware. I'll make, assuming there aren't a ton more questions, I'll make one more push. I know Laura mentioned it at the top. If you haven't already placed your pre-order, I would strongly suggest you do that in the next few weeks. We will be making sure that the first sagas go to people who have placed pre-orders before the event. And so if this is something you want to do, if you're going to be somebody who's buying, it's in your best interest to get that pre-order in as soon as you can. But no other questions. Like I said, we're always online, Twitter, Discord. So we'll have a few more of these, but you can always grab us wherever you see us.
Yeah, for sure. And then also to tag on to that, if you've already pre-ordered, make sure that your Saga Pass is minted. That will be required for those people, the first batch of people, to show that they are indeed one of the part of the pre-order group. Just a technicality there. All right, well, if no more questions, we will conclude the space for today. I will look forward to seeing you guys in the next couple of weeks, and we look forward to actually showcase the phone to the world. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.